today's session is going to be on something interesting, loan schedules, and how you create personal loan, salary loan, business loan schedules. And also what are the differences? So I already have the practice files that I'm going to use. So let me just move over to the files. And as a reward for coming on time, let me just quickly share with you the direct link of the file. So if you want to practice along or at least have the copy ahead, then you can have it by just downloading from the link that I'm going to share right now. So let me grab this one. It's one of the links. Is going to be the main practice file is here. I've shared that now. Then I'm going to talk about some two templates. So those two templates too, let me give you those templates ahead. So there is one for constant payment. Constant payment, which in another term can be variable principal. Variable loan templates. So I'm also sharing that to us via the chat link. Then the fixed principal template, fixed principal loan template. Let me also grab that for us. So as I begin to talk about and navigate between those files, then you will know that you have the files ahead already. Okay, so all right, so I'm going to switch my screen back to the title of today's agenda. And from there, I also will. So, loan schedules for salary, personal, and business loans. So, typically, what happens is that whenever you want to take a loan, so this is that main practice file that I've shared with us, the Excel for finance and investment file. That's where you see this that I'm using right now. So whenever you want to take a loan, we all know that there are some very important aspects of every loan, which is the amount you want to borrow, okay? Then also, there's going to be the rate that is being applied, and ultimately the duration for which the loan is being lent to you. So these three are very constant and steady in every loan. Okay. Now where the difference comes about is that so there are two ways loans are being computed. Where loan repayment are being computed. So there are two major ways, okay? And let me start with the kind of loans that end up being computed in those different ways. So let me start with if you take a microfinance loan, let me use the word. So most microfinance, let me use the word most because again, there are some exceptions. So most microfinance loans, right? Most salary loans, salary advance loans, especially the ones from third party. From third party. Third party means maybe a bank, a financial institution, not your employer anyway. So most salary advance loans, most credits, um, almost like microfinance, but most instrumental payment kind of loan. Installment payment facilities. So where you could go buy a fridge, and instead of you paying everything at once, they let you pay, over 6 months. But they give you the fridge, so you have the fridge right immediately. So this type of loans, I'm going to color them differently. So most of these loans are usually they have a category. Let me use that word for now. Then we have business loans. So business loans. So most business loans, let me use the word most. So most business loans are of a different category too. Okay, so let me use a different color here. And so what are those two categories? So category one, is a constant payments, which you could also call variable principal type of loan. So these are the ones that the category one loans are. These ones, all these green color ones, this is usually where they fall. And then there is a category two. So category two is the fixed principal type of loan. So this is the one that applies to most business loans. Okay. So now that I've said there are two kinds of loans, let's start beginning to see how they differ. So let's start with this one. So if you take a loan of 100 million naira at 25% from a bank to repay both interest and principal over the next 10 years. Okay. Now the question is that you are going to be paying equal amounts every year. So this is the one that we call constant payment. Constant payment means you are paying the same amount every period, every repayment period. So let me color it this way. Okay. So that's why if you notice when you buy something on installment, you buy, not so many people do it on car, except if it may be Access Bank partnered with Kia, and then they let staff buy Kia motors, and once you pay 10% up front, you have the car, and then they start deducting for the rest of the next maybe 18 months. Okay, great. So, most of the time they are deducting the same amount, equally to when you try to buy a land. And then they say, oh, there are multiple payment plans. You could pay for everything at once at 2 million naira, but then you could pay over the next 12 months and be paying 1 million naira. Let's say you'll be paying, how does it 12 months, something that was 2 million. Maybe you'll be paying 2 million every 200,000 naira every month. So, but as long as you are paying equal amounts, then this is the logic that is working. That it is working by. It is working by that constant payment, which traditionally translates to variable principal. Okay. So why is it called variable principal? Every period you are paying different amounts. So year one, what you pay as principal is different from what you pay at year two principal. And that is so that you are paying the same amount every period to cover both the interest and the principal. So this is what you'll be paying to cover both the interest and the principal. So now let's go to the second type. The same thing, the same condition, you're taking a 100 million naira loan at the same rate. So all these are the same, right? But what is different is the way that it's being computed. What color did I use? Let me use the same color yellow. So what's different is just that for this one, you are paying fixed principal. And what does fixed principal mean? The loan is spread equally. The principal amount is spread equally over the loan duration, well, over the repayment duration, right? And so that's why it's called a fixed principal, right? And this is usually applied to business loans. This is the actual major kind of loan structure, fixed principal. So when you take a loan from, most of the times that you take all these structured business loans, this is the way they are done. They spread the principal for you, and then you pay interest over the outstanding. Your interest will be varying, but your principal is always going to be the same. So every year, the amount you pay varies, to cover both interest and principal. So you pay more at the start of the period because you have a lot more outstanding, and so interest is higher. And then you pay less as you begin to get closer to the end of the loan. Okay, so now that you understand those two differences, let's now see how you can compute them. Okay, so I'm going to, you have this file with you. If you do not know, check the chat box. You will see that I've already given us this file. So let me recreate all of this for us. And so if you took a loan of 100 million naira, and so this is now what we call a schedule, a loan schedule. We break down over the period of the loan, highlighting what is to pay for the interest, highlighting what will be paid for principal, and highlight also to the net book value, or the book value of the loan. Okay. So here is the very easy way to understand it. When you are doing for constant payment, you have to use a formula in Excel that is going to do that correctly for us. So these are the formulas: PMT to get the payment that you'll be making, IPMT, which is interest PMT, interest payment, to get the interest that will be paid for different period, and then PPMT, principal PMT. And so that's what we are going to have to do. Okay, so what will happen is that for the interest, I'm going to have to use IPPMT. And to make it easy for you to follow, I'm going to bring up this dialog box, the formula dialog box. Let me zoom my screen so you can see clearly. So it's going to ask me for the rate. So at what rate am I being given this loan? I'm given this loan at 25% rate. Okay, I know that I'm going to drag this formula down. So I'm going to make this fixed so that when I drag it down, it does not change. Now, as for period, now I am calculating this for the first period of the loan. So you notice I've typed 1, 2, 3 to indicate the period number. Okay, so then as for the number of periods, so what's the total loan duration, right? So this loan is giving me over 10 years. Okay, so that is also going to be fixed so that I can drag it down and it doesn't change. The 10 years is always in this particular cell. And then there's the present value. So what is the loan that I was given? So what is the actual loan amount? Okay, so because I was given that money ahead, so that should be like I got it, but then it's an obligation that I have to repay. So depending on you, if you want your interest to come out in negative, just know that whatever sign you plug in here is the opposite sign that will come out as a result. So if I put this as a positive value, that I have a positive 100 million naira at the beginning, then this interest will come out as negative, which means it's an outflow for me. So most people don't like it because most of the time you look at schedules, people are used to seeing schedules holding positive values, right? So if I do not want it to come in negative value, then I'm going to put my principal my loan amount, my present value, the money I borrowed, I'm going to put it in negative. So it's just a straightforward cash flow stuff. When you're using all these, if you have used a financial calculator before too, it's one of the key things you have to remember that when you take a loan or when you're doing all these PMT, PVs, PR, you have to get the cash flow direction very correct. Otherwise, the formula will not come out the way you want. So anyway, FV stands for future value. So are you going to have to pay back everything, or you will just pay back up to some amount? Well, the truth is, for most loans, you have to pay back until you don't have anything outstanding anymore. So which means future value is going to be zero. So at the end of the 10 years, you shouldn't be owing the bank any money anymore, right? So you could ignore it or you put zero. And then once I do this and I do okay, right, it's going to get me what the interest I am paying is. And if you see, it makes a lot of sense. At the beginning of the loan, where I have the entire loan outstanding, right? 25% times 100 million is going to give you 25 million, right? So you see, it follows even the natural logic we apply. It's just that because there's an Excel formula already for it, I prefer to show you the formula so that we can, drag this formula down, and you will see that it saves us a lot of stress. So this gets for us the interest, based on the constant payment method, okay? And then I'm going to do for the principal too. So equal to PPMT, right? And I'm going to call up that formula dialog box, okay? And similar kinds of parameters I'm being asked to provide. So again, the rate is this, and it's not going to change. So I'm going to lock that there. I don't need it to drag away. Then period is going to pick the period from here. The number of periods is going to be the total duration of the loan, all right? And then the present value, just like as I explained, if I want the outcome to be in a positive value, I have to put the PV in negative, okay? So this, again, I make it locked. And then the future value, which is, again, 0, you have to pay out the entirety of the loan. And so by doing this is going to get me what the principal is. So this, again, I can drag. Okay, and you might be like, if I know my interest I'm paying and the principal I'm paying, then automatically I know what the total payment I'm making. Well, cash flow I'm going to be. I need to make sure it's in my bank account so that when that deduction needs to happen, there's enough money for that, right? So the money that's going to cover both the interest and the principal. So just so that you will know that it's correct, I'm going to do something right here. I'm going to do a formula here that will just be a manual computation, which is going to be this plus this, okay? So that we can compare. So this comes to 28 million, right? And I drag it down, and you notice that the value is constantly same, right? Where it's constant, it's the same. So let's use the formula, right? So if I come in here and I say equal to PMT, right? And I do the FX, so that comes up. And then I provide all the variables, all the parameters, the arguments that the formula requests for. So the rate, which this is the rate, I'm going to make it fixed, absolute reference. This is the number of periods, make the reference in absolute. The present value, so the loan at the beginning of the period, so this is that, I make it absolute. I have to repay all of the loan, right? So if you notice, we will not be filling the type in the other one, so I'm going to just leave it to. So I'm going to say OK, and as you can see, it is giving me exactly the same as what I have here. Okay, and then we can compute what the net book value is. Net book value at the end of the period is going to be the outstanding at the beginning of the period minus the repayment you've made. Okay, and then I'm going to also do likewise, outstanding at the beginning of the period minus repayment made during this period. And if you see, if I drag this down, it helps me to, you see, it shows that I ended up repaying everything. Okay, and if you wanted to again cross-check, what if, I didn't want to use the IPMT and I wanted to calculate the interest manually? I could have calculated the interest manually too. Why? Interest is always equal. So interest in this period is going to be outstanding at the beginning of the period times the interest rates that the bank has applied to your loan. And you will see that this is giving me exactly the same as what I have here. So those are some of the powerful formulas that exist there in Excel for us, and sometimes people are not aware. I forgot to lock this one to make absolutely great. So this is me exposing to you those formulas that are there already in Excel to make our calculations, especially as it regards to creating loan schedules, very easy. Now, what is the high point of this? The high point of this is it makes possible the ability to create a template. So I have given us a template already in the chat box. If you check there, you'll see the template that I've given us, and this is that template. So if I go to constant payments, which is variable principal, as you can see, I now have here a template that makes life easy. I didn't develop this originally. It is developed by Exeli.com. I only just modified it to be more appropriate for Nigeria, right? So it has the Naira sign, and then I added a few things too. So imagine that I'm to take a salary loan of 4 million Naira at this rate. In fact, let's type something new. Okay, so I've gone to meet one of these loan facility companies, so maybe Credit Direct. So I need 5 million Naira. I want to buy a new car, and I have a high taste. And even though it's a second-hand car, it's going to cost me 5 million Naira. Maybe it's a Mercedes SUV, or anyway, it's going to cost me 5 million Naira. Okay, so I have gone to different, people, providers for this loan, and they are giving me different rates. So let's say I've gone to one provider, and they are giving me, so in Nigeria, most of them will try to give you for salary or personal loans, because they know if they call a rate that is very high, you'll be scared. So what they do is they give you monthly. So they go say, oh, it's 2% monthly or it's 3% monthly. So just make sure that you do whatever they tell you is monthly, you multiply it by 12 to get the annual equivalent. So let's say I first tried out GT Bank. So GT Bank says they can give you loan at 1.75%. So 1.75% times 12, that is going to give me what? So that gives me 21%. Okay? So this loan, if I'm going to be paying it quarterly, then I will say I'm paying it 4 times in a year. But if I'm going to be repaying monthly, which is what GT Bank is going to do, they're going to be trying to deduct the money from you every month. So 12 months. So that means 12 periods in a year. I have to pay back, 12 times, every month anyway. So number of payments per year, is also the same thing. So when is the loan starting from? So let's say the loan starts from 1st of January 2021. So the moment I plug in all of this, you see they are in blue. Maybe I should have made them in yellow, because people are much more conversant with understanding that something in yellow means they are supposed to touch it or edit it. So once I plug in those values, what instantly happens is that my template computes. Check it out. So it has automatically computed, and I'm going to have to pay back, how many years? Say the number of loan period. Oh, no. Let's say they're going to give me this loan for 2 years. 2 years. The number of payments in a year. 12 times I will pay in a year. So yeah, that was, I misinterpreted this before. So this is number, the loan period in years, the number of payments per year. So let's say it's a 2-year loan. So if you check here, here's already letting me know that I will end up paying this loan. I will finish paying up in January 2023. Okay, and so this is the way it will be. Every month they are going to be deducting 256,000 naira, well, almost 257,000 naira from my account. So I need to make sure that I have money that is able to cover this every beginning of the month. Maybe that's when they're going to deduct the money. Okay, so if I want to see the splitting, so this is how it splits for me, how much goes to cover principal and how much goes to cover interest. Okay, so this is why this is a template. If maybe I was able to negotiate and it was no longer 1.7, or let's even say the bank says they're only going to give me for 1.5 years. Okay, so 1.5 years is like 18 months. So maybe that's what they said. So can you check it out? 18 months. You see that it has changed again to show that this loan is for 18 months. And then you recompute. So this is what makes it a template, right? So how am I able to do this easily? How I'm able to do this easily is because there are formulas that already makes all this computation very, very easy. Okay, and I've shown us those formulas already. So PPMT, IPMT, like, and such like anyway. We check here, just so you see. Can you see the PMT? So just wanted you to know that it's there. Can you see? Let's go look for. Okay. Anyway, this is clear enough. I'm going to move on to the second type of loan. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So I'm going to go to the second type of loan. So the same conditions, the same 100 million naira, 25%, and 10 years duration. But now this is fixed principal, and this one is easy to calculate with just our ordinary mathematics. So what do I do? I'm going to again start afresh. So number one is that if your interest is always going to be on the outstanding. So what have I done? What's the opening balance? In the beginning of the year, the entire loan is outstanding. Okay, so my interest payment is going to be on top of that outstanding. Okay, so this is going to be equal to the outstanding times the interest rate. I'm going to make that interest rate absolute in terms of reference because I'm going to drag it down. Then principal. So this is the cool thing about a fixed principal. What happens is that the loan is divided or is spread equally over the duration of the loan. So this is much more common for business loans. So these are the kinds of situations you get when you take a business loan. Let me just turn on the light. Okay, so I am going to just immediately compute that. And as we know, the total payments or the total cash flow towards that loan, both the principal repayment and interest payment, is going to be the summation of these two. Okay, so you will see that the money you pay to cover both the interest and the principal will always vary. So that's what makes this one different from the fixed payment. Because this constant payment, you'll be paying same amount. So it's a lot easier for those who give salary loans and microcredit to say, you know what, every month we're going to be deducting 100,000 naira from your account. So that is easier for me as a non-finance, non-techie person to understand that, okay, I just need to make sure I have 100,000 in my account, and that's all they need. Okay. But when it's a company loan, right? When it's a business loan, they expect that you are financially savvy. They expect that you even have a finance manager or someone who understands finance enough to be able to understand all of these dynamics. Okay. So, and what that makes possible, or what happens, is that the opening this period is going to be opening last period minus whatsoever principal that you have been paid. So which is kind of like, what's your net book value? So let's even do what is the much more common way. So the book value of the loan, or the book value. So the book value of the loan is going to be the opening value at the beginning of period minus the principal repayment. And that is going to automatically become the opening value for the next period. Okay. And so if we keep doing this, so if I just drag this down, and I drag this down, we see that I have replicated that, okay? And then interest is always going to be equal to this times the interest rate. So I can also drag that down, okay? And this is it. So that's why this one is more of just mathematics rather than having to use a special Excel formula. So this is the fixed principal. The principal is spread equally over the duration of the loan. So let me use the very color that we used the other time. Okay. Okay, so again, with this knowledge, I'm able, well, not just only me. So this template was created, like I said, originally created by Excelly.com, just modified by me. I've been using this since, I think, 2014, because if you see here, that was when I was modifying it. So let's do the same thing. And then that way you're able to see, we're going to plug in the same figures. I'm borrowing 5 million. So again, I'm borrowing 5 million. But instead of that other way of calculating, where the creditor tells you that every month I'm going to be deducting a specific amount. So in this case, it is the normal loan calculation, the fixed principal approach. So let's say, again, this is the rate, and then the loan is for how many years? Let's say we're getting 1.5 years, and I'm going to be paying back 12, monthly. Every month I'm repaying the loan. And start date is also the same as I have in that other one. Okay, so everything is the same. Now, let's see the difference. For fixed principal, you are paying an equal amount to cover the principal every month. So this is that difference that I keep talking about. Whereas in this one, your total to cover both principal and interest are the same. Where is that color I was using? So this is that difference. Now, which one favors you more as the person taking the loan? Let's go check it out. So you see, for this one, my total repayment, so let's do a total calculation here. My total repayment I do it here, which is this. If you select all of this, I don't want to scatter whatever I've done. But anyway, if I select all of these, and if you check it down here, can you see the total is 5,831,350 naira, and that is exactly what we have here, right? So that's my total repayment. Okay, so this is for the fixed principal. Now let's go check for the other one. So for the other one, see, it is 5,872,000. There's a difference. And which one do you think is leading you to pay more? So let's go check. I think this one leads you to pay more because this is 831, this is 874. So there is like a 40 something thousand naira difference. Okay, so this is higher. So what I'm saying is that the one where they are making you to pay equal amount every month or every period, you end up paying more than the one where is the principal that is equally spread. You know why? In that one here, for your principal, you are paying less at the beginning and gradually it increases. So you know what that costs? What that causes is that you'll be paying a lot more interest, right? Because interest is always on outstanding. So when your outstanding is small or is big, let me use that word. Your outstanding is big because you paid small principal. Your interest begins to be a lot more than the person who was paying, consistently higher, well, relatively higher principal payment for most of his period. So, but those who give a salary loan, they prefer to use this approach because it's a lot easier for the customer to understand that I'm just going to be charging you a fixed amount every month. Okay, but if you are a savvy person with this knowledge you have now, then you will know that it's better for you to go for a structure like this. So this favors you more because the conditions are the same. It's just the way the loan is being computed that is different. So if I am, and you know what, this can be really significant if the period is long. So if this was 3 years, and you see for 3 years that this is 6.618. Now, if I put this 3 years here, you will see that this can be really very significant. Can you see? There is almost a 160,000 naira extra that the person who is using this approach is going to pay more than the person who just went the traditional or the much more standard fixed principal. Okay, so any questions so far? I think I still have some 22 minutes. Otherwise, I will have to manufacture some additional things to talk about. Luckily, I have other things in here that I can also move on to. But at this juncture, I need to ask if there are any questions. Any questions?
Hi, hello, Michael.
Yeah, hello. Okay, hi, Abimbola.
Hi, I wanted to ask, what is the difference between the two, especially the one that allows you pay more? Like, is there a difference in the name or something? I know one is just the basic calculation, while the other is for maybe a business loan or something.
Okay. So, for those in the banks too, because it's usually two kinds of banks. Because I've in trainings where
Okay.
I've done for banks and people in the bank. So for them, so for instance, a lady who works in Standard Chartered. So when I was explaining this, she was like, "Oh, that because they don't deal with micro loans, they don't deal with salary advance kind of loans. So consistently, this is the one they use. So for her, it was more like, okay, this is cool to know, but in our own industry, this is the only thing they use. The only other thing can be with the loan have a moratorium or not. But not that, for some people, we're going to use a constant payment, and for some other people, we're
Okay.
going to use a fixed principal. So Now, the same thing too for the guys who use this other type. It's almost like that's the only other thing they do all the time. So, like my wife now works in a microfinance, a micro credit company, but they use technology. Again, too, I noticed that the loan structure, right, for all of the people they give loan, whether they are giving you as a business loan or they are giving it to you as a salary loan, it's this structure. So most of the times you find out that it's very rare that the same unit, the same bank sometimes will be deciding between the two. So for the only small exception could be like maybe all these banks that are now beginning to do these USSD kind of like GT Bank where they say, oh, you can, type some code on your phone and then you can get up to 2 times your salary as. So you will find out that they've already codified it. It's not negotiable. There's no person, there's nobody that's going to be explaining to you and negotiating with you. And most of the time it's already codified and it's codified to be this way. So they will just say they are deducting some amount every month. So most times I've not seen anybody tell me that in the industry we give it a particular name that is kind of very general, different from the name that we give this. Did you get my answer?
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. So basically, it's better to pay with varying principal rather than a fixed principal.
No, it's better to pay the fixed principal. Well, look at what we call fixed principal. Okay. We spread the principal equally, and that's the normal bank loan, normal structured loan. Okay. So the principal is spread equally, right? So the other thing is just that if you take that as an individual, maybe I'm taking a salary advance loan, then where the extra work comes in is that what they will deduct this month is going to be different from what they will deduct next month to cover principal and interest. So that's where maybe it can be more of a tougher calculation for someone who is not finance inclined. So that's why most of all the salary loans and people who give micro loans, people who deal more with individuals or SMEs that they don't expect you to be finance savvy that month. They try to use more of this other one, which is the constant payment. Or maybe it's because I'm using constant payment. You can call it variable principal. So that you can say fixed principal and variable principal. Here, you will see that your principal is changing, but the total amount you will pay per period to cover both interest and principal stays the same. Because this is the money that goes to the creditor to cover both your interest and your principal. So this one, I think is easier to tell people, you know what, we're going to give you 2 million naira every month. We're going to be removing 200,000 naira, for the next 14 months. I'll just make sure that whatever I am doing, when my salary comes in, I don't deduct more than will make my account less than that amount. So I guess maybe that's very common for those people who do micro loans. But if you have a choice, with this knowledge that I have, if I need to borrow 10 million naira, I will not borrow from the people who will use this calculation for me.
Yes.
I would rather borrow from these people who use this calculation for me.
Fixed principal.
Yeah. Because at the end, I will pay less with this kind of calculation compared to this other one.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other question? Okay. So if no other questions, then let me try and create some very common scenarios that I've seen play out, multiple times. So I've seen people decide between, should I, especially 2 years ago and even last year, real estate, people selling real estate were just everywhere. Like you check your WhatsApp status, you will definitely see more than 2 people on your contact who have posted something about some estate in Ipejuleki or in Mowe or in some. So, there were very many, and a lot of awareness were around this, and they give you options. So they could say, okay, you know what, there is a property for, let's say, 20 million naira. But this is if you do instant payments. And if you pay instantly, and they will say, the same property. You will pay 2 million every month for 12 months. Okay. And now, let's say, and same property for 1.2 million every month for 24 months. Okay. So if you have this, now let me even try and bring it a bit closer to most of what is marketed to us. Sometimes the values are a bit more affordable. So it could be like the property is 4 million naira instant. But then if you want to spread payment, you could pay at 400,000 every month, or you could pay at 220,000 every month, for the next 12 months. Okay, so which of them should you buy? Now, considering, or how do you make your choices? So this is seller one. Now, let's say GT Bank is offering me a 1.75% loan of up to, I can take as much as up to 6 million. Okay, so should I take GT Bank loan and pay instantly for the property? So let's say the GT Bank loan is a 12 months maximum facility. Okay, so how will you be able to decide? So these are some of the things that this makes possible. One you understand is you're a bit more intelligent in evaluating options you have. Should you buy property that are similar price? If you have the upfront money, it's not a problem. But one seller is giving you ability to pay over 12 months. Another seller is giving you ability to pay a lump sum, pay half upfront, pay the remaining later. So let's say another seller is giving same property, but you pay 500. Let's say you pay 1 million down payment, and the remaining 3 million is going to be spread at 300,000 for 12 months. So how do you compare all these options? This is what this thing makes possible. So let us look at it. Whenever you have all these options like this, the thing you want to find out is what annual rates. That's what you want to compare. That is the thing that will help you to decide which favors you. Is the rate. Because the rate
Is it the annual rate of the bank or annual rate
of everything, of
Okay.
all of them. So I'll show you how you compare, how you get out the rates. So it will be the common ground of which you evaluate. If you have maybe just to make this a bit interesting, maybe you also have an investment option where you could, okay, I can put that one there later, but let's first see how I can get out the annual rate for all of these. Obviously, if I have the money instantly, my rate is 0%. That's the rate of the, let me say, annual interest rate. So it's 0% because, well, that's the property price. But then the moment I decide to pay 400,000 naira every month for the next 12 months, you know what this means? I'm paying 400,000, times 12 months. If you do this calculation, you are essentially paying 4.8 million. So there's a cost that has already accrued because you didn't pay up front. So instead of you making too much of getting a headache from how do you compare, very easy, right? So there's a formula called rates. It works with all of the logic of what we've been doing before now. PMP, when we were doing the PMT, right? There was a portion of it that was asking us for rates. So every aspect of that formula too is a formula. Let me just quickly show you what I'm saying. This formula that we did here, we use the formula called PMT. Now, what I'm trying to explain to us is that what we did here, now every aspect of it is a formula. Rate 2 is a formula. NPR is a formula. PV is a formula. Every aspect of it too is a formula, from rate to period to PV to FV, right? They are all formulas, which means if I know one, or if I know others and I need to know one, then I can do it. So in this example that we're doing now, I know payment. Payment is how much I'm paying constantly every month. So I'm paying 400,000 naira constantly every month. That's my payment. That's my PMT. Okay. I know the number of periods. I'm going to do this for the next 12 months. Then I know the present value. The present value is the property price. Assuming I'm paying a down payment right now, what am I paying? I'm paying 4 million. That's the property value right now. So, well, FB, at the end of it, you should not hold them. Maybe they are not. If it's a property by your parent could say, you know what, as long as you pay me 3 million out of the 4 million, I'm okay. But this one, you have to pay back everything. So FB is going to be 0, which means at the end of the entire period, you'll be owing 0 naira. You will not owe them any money. Okay. So once I understand that concept, that every aspect of this formula is also a formula. So when I have the other aspect and I need one, in this case, I need the rate, there's a formula called rate. So that's what we are going to use to solve this common problem that, well, some people don't see it as a problem, but the issue is that they end up not understanding that they have options, because they just look at what the person has said and they just focus on knowing that. They don't try to see that there are options that if they know all this, they can be much more, strategic with the options they pick, or at least they will know whether what the person is saying is ridiculous. Because when they tell you all these pages amount for 12 months, there is no framework to use to judge. Are they charging me at 10%? Are they charging me at 12%? You won't know, because, well, the only way you will know is you have to calculate the rate. So let's calculate the rates together. So I am calculating the rate now. And here, because of the way it is, I'm going to have to type most of all of this from the question I've written. So what's the number of period? Since I'm paying this over 12 months, then 12 months is my period. Then how much am I paying? So I am paying 400,000 naira every month. And then what is the value of the property, assuming I'm paying a down payment right now, how much actually is the property selling for? 4 million. And remember, if you want your answer to come in positive, then this one will be negative. I mentioned it before. So 4 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then future value, I am not going to hold anything at the end. So when I press OK, you see this is going to compute, and it tells me it's an annual interest rate of, this is monthly rate now because our period is in month. So this is now what I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to multiply this by 12. So now change it to annual so that I will get what the rate is annual. So this is what the rate they are using for me, annual. Okay, so I've seen the rate that this is at the annual rate. This is very high. I don't think it's better for me to go and borrow money from GTB and pay down payment, and I will not be paying up to 400 million naira every month. Let's check it out. If I follow GTB's stuff of, so if I follow GTB, this is how much I'm going to be paying every month. Every month, let's check it out. Following GTB's structure of loan, right? If I come here to the FX, so these are some of the things that most of us miss out on because we do not understand that we have options. So GTB is giving me a rate of 1.75 a month, okay? And then this is I'm going to pay back over 12 months, and the value of the property, what I want to take, I'm taking a 4 million naira loan. So 4 million, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to pay back everything, so 0. Once I do this, you see, this is how much I'm going to be paying every month. Can you see? Forget about the dollars. Compared to me paying 400. So this is cheaper. It's better for me if I know that I don't have 4 million naira and I have to do this spreading. Instead of me agreeing with the company and spreading it over 12 months, it's better for me to just take this loan facility from GTB for 4 million naira. So let me just change this to 4 million naira. Just borrow the 4 million naira from GTB. Then pay, instead of you paying 400,000 every month, you'll be paying 372, 500 naira to GTB. So you still, the property guy, it's even better because you get your property right now. Whatever documentation and whatever they need to do, they give it to you, and you will be paying. So you'll be losing both ways. This one, you will not have the property until you finish paying, and still you're going to be paying more interest than if you are just taking a loan from GTB. Okay, so I think that is getting clearer. Then the same thing too. What's of this other option? Also rates. So rate is a number of periods. Let me just use that FX because it makes things a lot easier for you to follow. Where I've clicked on it. Time is kind of up. Can't find it. Okay. So rate is asking me number of periods. So this one too, 24 months. So the period is 24 months. And how much will I pay? I'll be paying 220,000. And how much is the value?
Hey, I didn't join earlier. What's PMT?
It's the total payment.
Okay.
Yeah, so that
monthly payments.
Yeah, total monthly payment. Yeah. So that's
okay.
Better.
So that's the 220 that was there.
Or the total periodic payment. Yes. So yeah. Then the FB is at the end of the period, I should have paid everything, so I should be owing 0 naira. So if I do this, it's going to tell me what rate, this comes to. So I've done something wrong. 4 million. I wrote 400,000. So this one says it comes to 2%. So this is even cheaper than the 400,000 every month. So this I multiply by 12 to give me. So this is coming at 28%. So if I do not have the GTB facility, you know what? This one will be better for me. You know how this is going to be better for me? I I can be able to use the money to do, if on an interest basis anyway, this is better because the rate is going to be less. But then, this is only better if you are going to be acquiring, say, 2 property, or you're going to be in absolute amount of money you are paying. This can also be more. But at least on a annual interest rate. Huh?
You said in the absolute amount of money you're paying, that can be more. How?
It can be more. So, okay, let me show you how it can be more. So, months, and so let's say month 1, January 2021. So this is 1 to February 2021. I'm going to do this until I get to 24 months. Okay, great. So if I'm paying option B now, then option C. So option B, which is a 400,000 for 12 months, and this one is 220,000 for 24 months. So paying 400,000 1, 2, 3. 220,000 . Okay. So 24 months, but this one is for 12 months. Now let's see the total I will have paid. So here I will have paid 4.8. Here, can you see that I'm paying more here? So
yes, I can see.
In absolute amount, I'm paying more, but in terms of cost of this is cheaper. So this is only if this 220 makes your life easier in terms of it will not stretch you. You will not have the other emotional issues that come with a loan that is already stretching you thin. Then this is a very good deal. But the moment that you know that this absolute amount difference is a concern, then you rather prefer to go with something that will be cheaper on a shorter basis. So loans generally shorter.
GT loan.
Yeah, shorter duration and smaller rate. Shorter duration and smaller rate is typically better. So in the order of things, this is what you want: shorter duration, smaller rate. Well, if you cannot get that one, no problem. Long duration, but still smaller. The worst combination is when both are long. And then in this one, okay, let's say maybe followed by short duration and larger rates. Then the worst is where both duration and rate are high. Then that is like the worst combination. So in your order of preference, if you are negotiating a loan, make sure that you try to get it over a duration that you can, as quickly as you can repay it. So that's why they say the faster you pay a loan, the better for you, because overall your absolute payment will be reduced, and then the smaller the rate. But let's say the duration does not fit, the duration because of the circumstances will still be long, then at least try and get a smaller rate. Then if you, well, this is more like the way you look at it under our preference. So my time is up anyway. I just hope at least I've made it easy for us to understand that when you know all these things, you can be a bit more strategic with business, personal finance, if you really must borrow. Because again, sometimes if you are borrowing for consumption on a personal level, it might be better to delay the consumption than to start doing all these gymnastics to even see which loan will favor you. But when it's for business, where whatever you are buying is going to be an asset that will generate, doing personal loan too. It's just that in personal things can be very, very more flexible. Some people will argue that buying a car, can will help them in their work and all. But the truth is, most of all those covers, all those explanations are on an emotional level, because you will find out that the same job that they are doing, that they're going to get a car, and it's because of that job they're getting a car. Someone else is also in that same job, or even their boss might not have a car, or decides not to be using his car, or you will see someone who is not using his car. So it makes it no longer a very absolute explanation. But for a business now, you will find a business who is manufacturing a product. The person cannot say, if I don't have my factory, I know somebody who does not have factory and is manufacturing. It's not possible. You need a factory to manufacture. So for businesses, it's a bit more clear cut that, okay, some things you just must have, and if your money is not enough, it makes sense to borrow to acquire. But for personal things, you always have this ability to stretch before you can definitely be able to say this thing is a must to have right now. Otherwise, it might be better to just save up to it, let your money be in somewhere is any interest, and buy it. But then, if you must, maybe you feel the property will go up in price. So that's why I use the property as an example. When you buy property, sometimes you lock down the value. Like for me, I did this for some properties I bought last year. They were doing a promo. Adron was doing a promo, and I locked it and decided to spread the payment over 12 months. And so there are many ways to do things. Just understand that when it comes to comparing your options, it's good you are aware of all of these ways of coming to a standardized way of comparing the options you have. So thank you very, very much. As usual, make sure you join our community so that you'll be in the loop of every activity, every reminder, every schedules. So I'm going to just paste again the community link. At 4 o'clock, we have this is for to see the one I'm pasting right now is to see the past video recordings. So all the sessions we've been having, I've pasted the YouTube link to get the recordings. Then for the community itself, so if you join this Meetup community link, from there you will always get email reminders, whatever resources we use. So like those who did not join this call now and they did not see the links I've shared, they will get it as an email because they're already on that community. So it's better you join the community so that you always have information ahead, and you always get resources, slides, and all of that the presenters share. And so we have come to the end